All right, Coach Kerns, thanks very much for joining us today. Appreciate you taking the time. Not a lot of college athletics happening right now, obviously, so any kind of news we can get really helps. So I appreciate you taking the time. First question I have for you actually is a non-basketball question. I know you're originally from Kingsport, Tennessee. That's only about 75 miles from Boone. You played basketball at Clemson. I would imagine when you took the job at App State last season that Boone wasn't exactly foreign territory to you. So I was just curious to know how you're settling in Boone. Most people that end up in Boone don't want to leave. So how's things working out in Boone just from a life in Boone standpoint?
We love it. We bought a house and we really enjoying the surrounding area. There's so much to do here. Yes, I feel like I'm back home, but my wife and kids, certainly love it here as well. My wife's made a lot of good friends, and our kid, my daughter loves her school, and so we've enjoyed all the local restaurants. But we've never necessarily done a lot of hiking and things. We've probably done 6 or 7 different hikes, and that's been really fun. We've done a lot of stuff in Grandfather Mountain or Banner Elk or Blowing Rock or whatever it may be, but we're really enjoying the area.
That's great. It's Boone tends to work its magic on you for sure. There's no doubt about that. It's a special place. First basketball question.
Sure.
When you got to Appalachian State last year, you showed up with a reputation for turning things around quickly. Fortunately for App State fans, last year was no exception. 18 wins, first winning season for Appalachian State and more years than I want to mention. You talked about defense from the moment you showed up. The team took on the mantra, take the stairs, do it the right way. Give us a general recap of last year, how you think things went. Were there any surprises? Were you surprised how quickly the team, I guess, took your identity, your philosophy? Just a general recap of last season and the progress that you felt you made.
Yeah, Ken, I think that and it's still a process, right? I mean, I think we're very I don't want to say pleased. I definitely don't want to use, but I would say we're pleased with the progress. Sometimes taking over a situation that's had a long period of struggle like App State had, it takes sometimes years to just develop that identity, develop change. And fortunately, we were able to win 18 games and do win most Sun Belt games over, Sun Belt games ever, and etc. But there's so much more to do, and I think that's what my vision is even bigger and better things. My vision is to do what our football team's done. Let's get to the top 25. Let's win in the postseason, like they have, but you got to start somewhere, and so it was harder. I know that when we got to the November and we had some really good wins and we got going and things, the process of August, September, and October was probably harder than most people think. You just don't trip down the sidewalk into changing a mindset and changing a way of doing things. It takes some time. I credit our staff. I credit our players. I credit our support staff for really, buying into what we were doing and being willing to change. Right. I think that one of the big steps in doing that is being authentic and being vulnerable and accepting change. And so, I think that, but I think there's different stages to it. And certainly I didn't want to put a timetable on it because you just never know. But very pleased in year one to end that streak, but also excited about moving into year two, about doing even more bigger and better things.
Okay. I remember your preseason press conference heading into last season. You barely wanted to talk about offense. It seemed it was all about defense. Do you think that changing a culture like you're having to do at Appalachian State, that defense is maybe, I don't want to say more important, but critically important to a culture change to create winning?
Yeah, I think that it becomes an identity. I just think that I just felt like coming in, I was our best chance to really change it early was to become way better defensively. Evaluating App State basketball, our program had finished 11th in defense in the Sun Belt out of 12 for 3 straight years. Correct me if I'm wrong. And so I knew that had to change for us to, have some success on the court. But getting the team to buy into that, it's easy to get them to buy into shooting and running and playing and shoot the three and this, that, and the other. But getting them to, and then because it takes time, yes, it's a mindset, but it's a true team thing. And we finished second in the Sun Belt in defense, which was a massive improvement. We held 13 teams under 60, which I think the first time since 1980. And so, but I knew that was just so critical. And so now moving into year two, I know some other things. We've got to keep that defensive identity. But I know some other things are a little bit critical now to take the next step. But I knew initially year one, what's going to be the most critical thing. And I knew that was going to be. And so I can't sit here and talk about defense like I did with you guys and then run out to the court and just focus on, like, I had to stay committed to it. And I credit our players and I credit our staff to be committed to it. And I thought that, we really became a really good defensive team at times. That's got to stay there. And now we've got to keep building on other aspects.
Okay. Looking back on last season, as any coach will tell you, always room for improvement. What are a couple of areas of the team that you see that you need to take that next step with, improve in to take another big step forward next season? Got to be a couple of areas, yeah.
Yeah, I think now our biggest thing is we've got to improve our assist turnover ratio. And so fortunately for us, defense overcame that this year. But if you look at our stats, and I always, I have a saying with our team and staff, stats are for losers. Because you can easily get caught up in, hey, if we do this or we do that, we're going to win the game. That's not true. And so that, I think that's a loser mentality to think that way. And so for example, we shot barely over 30% from three as a team. We had a negative assist turnover ratio that wasn't even close to being even. And we shot under 70% from the free throw line, and we still won 18 games. Like, if you look at those three categories and say, it was defense. Mm-hmm. And so I knew that going in that we had to be elite there. Now we've got to, like I said, we've got to do that, but we have got to improve our free throw shooting. We've got to improve our 3-point shooting. But I think most importantly, we've got to improve our assist turnover ratio, because what doesn't show up on the stat sheet sometimes is our turnovers killed our defense. Our turnovers led to layups sometimes from the other team, which hurt your defense. So, like, if we can improve our assist turnover ratio, our defense is going to be even better.
Right.
And so, but I think those areas is what we're focused on right now. And so I've got to do a good job and a fine line of not overemphasizing those things and losing emphasis of the defensive end, because that mentality's got to stay there. But we've got to improve assist turnover, 3-point shooting, and free throw shooting.
Okay. You mentioned turnovers. I wanted to get your general opinion on the point guard position, not just with Appalachian State, but in basketball in general. And I'm about to reveal how old I am, but when I was in elementary school, I started watching college basketball. My favorite player was a guy named Phil Ford.
Oh, yeah.
At UNC, famous for running Dean Smith's 4 corners. He was probably the epitome of a point guard. It seems like in today's game that maybe that doesn't quite exist the way it used to. You see a lot of, 3-guard offenses, multiple guys on the floor that can handle the basketball. What's your general thought on that position in basketball, in the game today? Is it less important? Would you rather have more guys that can handle the ball than just the one guy? What's your thinking there?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And I think that what we break it down is we break it down as ball handlers, wings, and bigs. But we don't have numbers or quote point guards. I would love to have multiple guys be able to handle the ball. I'd love to play quote multiple point guards together. If you've got, I think as a coach or as a point guard, you get judged really on two things: assist turnover ratio and winning. And
Mhm.
it's like a quarterback, all right, or it's like a pitcher in baseball. I think a point guard is in that category. However, the natural point guard, the true point guard, um, I don't ever want to lock a guy into a box and say that's what you are. I want our guys just to be players, but we want multiple ball handlers in quote multiple point guards, right? I think that the more you have of that, the better. And so, but I understand what you're saying, and I think that that's something that's an area that we feel like that. Last year O'Shawn Williams had quote played point guard before, and I thought it was, I'm sure I got some criticism, but I can't worry about that, about moving him off the ball. Um, but that was a decision that I felt like was best for him and our team, to let him just free his mind up a little bit, because as a point guard, you've got a lot on your plate, in a sense of the ball's in your hands a lot. And so I made the change with putting Forrest back at point guard and put O'Shawn more off the ball some. Now, O'Shawn still was a quote primary ball handler, could handle the ball, so he could play point guard. But I thought it was better for him to free up his mind space and just allow him to play and score and shoot. And that was an adjustment for him. But I thought that once we got through that adjustment, it worked out well for everybody.
Yes. Do you think that since the days of a guy like Phil Ford, that the changes in the game, the 3-point line, the game seems to move faster now. We seem to score more points. Do you
Well,
think,
I think part of it's the shot clock.
right?
That they keep reducing it now. It's down to 30. And even on an offensive rebound, it's reset at 20. So even if you get an offensive rebound, they're kind of rewarding the defense because you don't have enough time. You don't get a full clock. And so, I think there's more possessions now. That's why I was impressed with what we were able to do defensively, because you're guarding more, there's more possessions. But I think that um, what we eventually want to see is we just want to get basketball players. And so we want to get all guys that can dribble, pass, and shoot. And so, I let different guys bring the rebound up the floor. And so, Isaac Johnson was able to bring it. Adrian Delph was able to, Donovan Gregory, Kendall Lewis. Those guys are all have the ability to bring a rebound, because I want different guys playing that way.